Well, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? It's Friday night, raining. Well, it's about to rain, so I better shoot this quick because Pramila is sleeping and my wife wants to watch Olympics, so this is the only place I can film this. And then my sister-in-law is coming from Arizona. I have to go pick her up. So, okay. Also, I wanted to tell you guys that I actually released a official cover picture for my magazine, the very first magazine on astrology through me, although there are many out there, but through me it's the first one. It'll be the coolest astrological magazine ever. Right when you see the cover, you'll know why. So check it out on my Facebook. If you do not know or have my Facebook link, check out the links below. So today we're going to be doing 7th Lord in the 5th house. And what happens when planet that controls the 7th house in your horoscope is sitting in the 5th house. And obviously, if you do not know where your 7th Lord is placed and where other your Lord through houses are going and your conjunction and aspects, for that, check out the links here and check out my full astrological report, including my books, Astrology, Conjunction, and Aspects at the Speed of Light. So all the secrets of astrology are there. So what is 7th house? 7th house mainly is a house of marriage, house of union, house of partnership, your spouse, the opposite sex. It is also the house of business and business partnerships that you have in your life. It's a house of other people. Whoever strange person that you come into in your life, whether good or bad, is the 7th house. So what happens when it goes in the 5th house, the planet that controls that? Well, what is 5th house? 5th house is children, education, romance, creative self-expression. It's the media, creative media. So it's all the creative things possible. It is a house of, also known as spells, and house of ancient text, ancient secret text, in a way. So, and it's also a house of speculative business, house of stock market, sports betting, and entertainment, which is pretty much a speculative business. So when 7th Lord goes into the 5th house, what this shows is that you want your spouse, whether husband or wife, you want them to creatively express themselves. You want them to help you creatively express yourself. You want the person that you run into, you want them to bring the creativity out of you. You want them to bring the fun out of you, because 5th house is a house of fun and entertainment. So you want your spouse to be fun. You want your spouse to be like a kid as well. Why? Because 5th house is children. So you not only want them to love children, but become a child with your children. Whenever you go to a theme park, you want them to just have the blast. And since it's a house of romance, you will only marry someone who you will have a tremendous amount of romantic relationship with. Like, this is usually one of those situations where it completely denies an arranged marriage, which is like a thing of a past now, because every single marriage is now out of love. But especially this one, these people will not marry unless they have a complete romantic relationship with them, unless they know that this person is fun, unless they know this person is creative, unless you know that they're going to help you be creative in your life. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. Other relationships may have romance, but it may not be so creatively expressive. You want your spouse to educate you. You want your spouse to enhance your knowledge, okay? Enhance your spiritual knowledge and knowledge of ancient text, like I would say Bhagavad Gita or Bible, Quran. You want them to help you, express this part of life, and you want them to show you what all this religious stuff is in a fun manner, okay? It shows that whoever you meet as a strange person, you meet them in a very creative arena. Whether it's art, dance, music, cinema, performing stage art, you want to interact with these people. You want those people to come and help you creatively enhance your creativity. So a lot of people in the film industry, artistic industry, just pretty much creative industry, run into a lot of friends like this, or run into a lot of people who are in this kind of a genre. Now, depending upon what planet is controlling the 7th house and going into the 5th house, it may differentiate that. So let's discuss that. So if Sun controls your 5th house or 7th house, Sun goes into the 5th house. What this shows is that you want your partner to enhance your personality, to make you more communicative. You want your partner, and you will get a business partner, or especially spouse. This is literally mainly becomes about spouse. You want your spouse to be this authoritative figure who will take care of the children. You want your spouse to have tremendous amount of authoritative communicative ability with you, and who will be this person in charge of your creative self-expression, who will take charge of your creative side and help you become more creative. It also shows that your father as well was perhaps into the creative business. Perhaps he was an artist and a businessman who went into speculative business. Okay, and it also shows that your spouse or your business partner or the people you interact with will have a lot of inclination towards politics. They will communicate a lot about politics with this position. Let's say if moon controls your 7th house, moon goes into the 5th house, shows that your spouse is going to come from quite a wealthy family. They're going to be very balanced minded, and their creative self-expression will help you emotionally get attached to them. They'll be so much fun, creative, stable, that you will suddenly be attached to them, and you will find this great camaraderie between you and them, whether it's a male or female. It also shows that your mother would have been, very creative as well, and your mother really showed you how to self-express yourself. And your mother also showed you how to behave in front of other people. And that's what you want in your spouse. You want your spouse now kind of take that flag from the mother, and you want them to keep that flag, that, hey, I want you to kind of play that role of the mother and be this absolutely great, balanced, nourishing spouse to me who will also help me in my creative thing. Okay, and you want your spouse to also become kind of like a mother to your children. Whether it's a man or woman, you want them to be this motherly figure in your children's life. Let's say if Mercury controls your 7th house, goes into the 5th house, there's a lot of aggressive, passionate communication between you and your spouse. There's a lot of sexual communication between you and your spouse. Your spouse is quite competitive. Your spouse is very businesslike, and your spouse goes out there, competes, and has a very strong voice and a commanding voice in the business world. Your spouse really becomes this competitive and this communicative teacher to your children, because of the fact Mercury in a way is a counselor, and in the sign of Aries it could become a counselor. Or if Mercury is in the sign of Cancer, your spouse can be very emotionally communicative with your children. Whatever communication is, because Mercury is communication, business, speech. Okay, so and Mercury is also sexual activity, because Mercury is a prince. He wants to just kind of hop around. So there's going to be a lot of communication in your romantic life with this Mercury. Let's say if Venus controls your 7th house, goes into the 5th house, shows you will have, the only way you can experience love is if it's fully romantic, full of beauty, full of creativity, full of art, full of just this magnetic, attraction between you and your spouse. And shows your spouse will be very creative and artistic themselves. They will be into painting or acting or dancing or singing, but they will be all about, spiritual side of art, spiritual side of, romantic life. You would want a spouse who will enhance your spiritual ability. And it'll also show that you want your spouse to kind of enhance the beauty within your children. You want your spouse to bring that artistic talent, because Venus is really artistic talent. Venus is actual creativity. It is entertainment. It is media. So there's a lot of strong inclination towards, you getting a spouse who you want them to push you towards going to, let's say, go and audition for a movie, go and audition for this play, that play. You want that kind of a spouse in your back, and you want the creative spouse as well with you. Let's say if Mars controls the 7th house, Mars goes into the 5th house, shows you want your spouse to be this great, general figure for your children. You are going to get a very sexually passionate and aggressive spouse. And the romantic life and the sexual life will be full of sparks, full of, power struggles, but at the same time, romance. And shows that your spouse will be very much into sports, or your spouse will help your children be in sports and be competitive in sports, because that's what Mars represents. But also Mars represents engineering. shows your spouse can be an engineer and they can be well educated in the field of engineering, or even be in a field of, surgery and medicine as well. But mainly it's all about the physical activity with Mars, and your romantic side will take the physical activity too. You want your spouse, you want to travel with your spouse, do hiking with your spouse, play with your spouse in order to feel that romantic camaraderie. Okay. Now, let's say if Jupiter controls the seventh house, Jupiter goes into the fifth house, shows that you want your spouse to be absolutely gifted and absolutely be involved with your kids when it comes to classical arts, music, and dance. Because that's what Jupiter is. It's classical arts, music, and dance, and culture, and all kinds of classical things. You want your spouse, or you want a spouse who will enhance yours and your children's spiritual life, their religious life. You want your spouse to be greatly, enhancing your children's ability to view the world. Because, it's like Jupiter is kind of like the broad horizon. Fifth house is education. You want a spouse who will broaden the horizon of your children, including you. And at the same time, your spouse could be in a financial industry like stock market, stockbroker, financial analyst, somebody who might be even into gambling. Well, actually, that's more like Mercury. I forgot to say, if Mercury is ruling the seventh house, goes into the fifth house, you can be a gambler too. But with Jupiter is more like finance. Your spouse could be in finance. Your spouse could be a teacher as well, because fifth house is education. Jupiter is a teacher, natural teacher. So it shows that your spouse will be involved in education, not only of your children, but of many children. Because fifth house is not only just your children, but it's the students you teach. Because students are children for a teacher. They're their kids. Okay, so that's what happens. Let's say if Saturn controls your seventh house, goes into the fifth house, shows that your spouse would be a very disciplinarian towards your kids. The romance will feel like a very cold environment. There's no romance with this Saturn. Saturn says, in order for us to have fun, let us balance our checkbooks. Let us see what our kids are doing. There's more realistic involvement with the kids. Like, for you, the romantic life may not be as prudent, versus like your spouse saying, okay, let's help our kids do our homework. You know what? Let's finish our work together. That would be the idea of romance. Like your spouse is saying, okay, let's have a romantic time together. Let's get some food and let's do our work that we need to do for the office. That'll probably be the most romantic thing you will get. But your spouse will be this mature, stable, and yet at the same time very, disciplined and conservative figure. Like Saturn will kind of like put a cold ice on top of the fun, top of the entertainment, top of creative self-expression. Unless if Venus is there, only then it'll become actually a very work-involved artistic environment. But if just Saturn is there, it's more about just, mechanical, technical education versus, having any romantic time. So guys, this was my analysis of 7th Lord in the 5th house. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And again, if you want to know where your 7th Lord is placed and all the other planetary placements, for that, check out the links here and my books, including the astrology report and the numerology report. Otherwise, we'll see you next time, and make sure to check out that cover at the link below. Bye-bye.